So let's talk about prototypal inheritance. Let me present you a problem. If imagine that you are analyzing a piece of code and eventually you come across something like user.name. So if in your code you see user.name, if I ask you, can you figure out, you don't have any details about the context. The only thing you know is that line, user.name. Can you tell me, guys, what type of data user is? An object. Why? Because you have the dot notation. Okay, yeah. That makes sense to me. That because you, even if you have no idea, it looks like an object because you get the dot notation, as you said, right? I agree on that. I agree on that. And now, what if I have, for instance, something like that? What type of data names is? It could be an array. It could be a string. But the thing is, why? A minute ago you told me that was an object because we were using the dot notation. I'm using the dot notation as well. Can names be an object? No, it cannot be an object. You see, in this particular case, it's not that obvious. It's not that obvious to determine what type of data names is. Let me give you a bit more context. So I'm going to create a variable called names equal Peter and Andy. So now, what type of data names is? It's an array. However, why? We're still using the dot notation. Wasn't the dot notation supposed to be reserved for objects? Why the hell? Why the hell now suddenly we can play around with the names variable as it was an object? Same with the strings, right? If I have a variable called user equals Mari, can I do user.length? Of course I can, right? Of course I can. So that's something that you probably never thought about. Yeah, you just obviously you just understand how that works and happy days. However, if you really want to master how JavaScript works, you should ask yourself, wait a minute, names is an array. However, we are using it as it was an object on line number 3. And likewise, user is a string. However, on line number 4, we are playing with it as it was an object because we are using the dot notation. Why is that? Why is that? In reality, guys, everything in JavaScript is an object. Everything in JavaScript is an object. And let's prove why. This is where I'm going to start my sketching. I never use that tool. I actually Googled it 5 minutes ago. So don't be very aggressive with your thoughts about it, about my ability to use it, to be more precise. So imagine that I have a variable called let. Oh, is that font necessary, guys? Looks like I'm playing some sort of play school game. Is there any coding? I should have prepared that, right? Let me try to find any monospace. Monospace, no. Any courier, maybe? No, neither. Hello? What type of fonts do we have here? I don't know, guys. That's not relevant, right? So take it easy. So yeah, slightly better, I guess. So let me remove the old one and let me use the new one. Right, it's gone. You know what, guys? I don't really care. That's okay. Whatever the font is, doesn't really matter. All right. So I got a variable called let users equals. No, let me simplify it. Name equals Peter. Something like that, right? So if I got name equals Peter, in reality, I hope you agree with me, I can do name dot length, of course, and name dot length will return 5 because Peter has 5 characters. Yeah, I think that sounds that's easy to grasp. All right, but now let's try to understand. Let's try to understand why is that. So when you declare a variable called Peter, can I zoom it a bit? Here you go. When you declare a variable called Peter, in reality, the way JavaScript works is JavaScript is creating some sort of box. And as part of that box, inside of it, so JavaScript is doing let name equals Peter. It's doing something like that. Why? Why is it doing this? Because whenever you create a variable, under the hood, JavaScript is always creating a second box. And that second box is what we call the prototype. The prototype of what? What type of data Peter is? Obviously, Peter, it's a string. So here, what you got is the string prototype. And the string prototype will be an object with multiple properties on it. One of them is the length. That will be a method. No, that's not a method. That's a property that will return 5 in this particular case. Okay? Something like that. So, in other words, why when we do name.length, what's the way that it works? When we do name.length, first of all, JavaScript will check on the upper box, the box where you hold the information about the data itself. Can we resolve that here? So do we have any way to know what the hell length means? No. Here on the box on top, we have no idea, right? The only thing we know is that the variable itself is called Peter. So then, next step is, all right, I don't know what to do on the first step. However, please check on the string prototype. Do we have any information about the length of the variable? Yes. The string prototype will be able to determine that the length of the string is 5. What happens if now I do name.foo? So what will name.foo return, guys? Undefined, that's correct, Panos. And that's probably not very surprising, right? Undefined, fantastic. But let's try to understand why. The process is, can the first box resolve what foo means? No, here we have no idea. Can the second box define what foo is? No. The string prototype has no idea about any property called foo. Is there any other box at the bottom? No, the string prototype is the last step on this journey. So, because JavaScript is unable to determine the variable, what foo means, it will just return undefined. Any questions so far? Cool. Let's create another variable on the right-hand side. My new variable is going to be let cities equals Paris and London. Yeah, something like that. So now, sorry guys, let me try to move things a bit. Here you go. So Paris and London. So we got the same schema, right? The schema is, first of all, we have a box. And on the first box, what we got is literally the same thing, right? Let's see this. Cities equals Paris and London. All right, no problem at all. No problem at all. So now, if we try to do cities.length, it will return 2. Why will it return 2? Because of the same process. We here, and please note the size of this box I'm writing here. I'm painting. Ignore my ability to draw boxes. So in here, what we got is the array prototype. Array prototype. Yep, the array prototype. So what happened on the array prototype? On the array prototype, we got a bunch of properties and methods to deal with arrays. So, guys, let's talk about some of them. So can you, apart from the length, obviously, can you tell me some properties or methods on the array prototype? I want you to tell me at least 15 before I move to the next step of this workshop. Map, filter, find, what else? Sort, reduce, what else? Push, correct. Shift, what else? Sorry, Minji, I didn't get that. Can you repeat that, please? What is that? Flat. Sorry, I didn't hear that. Yeah, flat. Correct. Yes, that's guys. That's the new method introduced in 2019. Correct. Yeah. What else? Splice. Fantastic. What else? Includes. Fantastic. What else? Index of. Index of is index of. Probably. Yeah, I think so. What else? Concat. Brilliant. Dan. What else? For each. Brilliant. Slice. Perfect. What else? Split. Split. No. Wrong. Split. Guys, look. Split is here. Is on the. Let me see if I can. Oh god. This is out of control. So. Oh, what the hell is that? Split works with strings, same as includes. You see, some of the prototype properties and methods can be in more than one prototype. Yeah. So, for instance, length. Can we get the length of a string? Yes. Can we get the length of an array? Yes. Can we use includes with a string? Yes. Can we use includes with an array? Yes. However, with a split, split only works with strings. What's the some sort of opposite action when talking with arrays, guys? Join, correct. Join. Sort, correct. I think someone said sort before. Yeah, here you go. Sort is here. Two more, guys, at least. Reverse, brilliant. What else? Two more. Unshift, yeah, unshift, yeah. Okay, two more. Pop, fantastic. Two more. Every, brilliant. What? Some, fantastic, fantastic. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, there are few others, right? So, for instance, there is a method I never use. I didn't even know it existed until I ran this workshop a few months ago. A student told me, and then I said, oh, "You made that up." And actually checked on the documentation, and that actually existed, guys. So the method, pay attention to this, is reduce right. So there is a method in JavaScript to start reducing an array from the right-hand side. To me, this is highly controversial because even though I think that's a good idea, why don't we have things like find right? Yeah, find right means instead of getting the first element matching a condition, that will imply please get the last element matching a condition. So JavaScript doesn't support it, but it supports reduce right. It feels a bit inconsistent to me. Anyway, ignoring these subtle oddities, I hope you agree with me that the array prototype is very powerful. So the array prototype is the reason why JavaScript is so powerful today. Yeah? You see, you can build so many things using the array prototype. And interestingly enough, many of these properties didn't even exist 5 years ago. 5 years ago. 5 years ago, guys. And I don't even want to think what JavaScript had before 2011, where ES5 was introduced. I think before 2011, we got length. I think that's it, guys. Oh, well, of course, push, pop, and all these things, right? But before 2011, we didn't even have map. We didn't even have for each. Not even for each, guys, before 2011. That was 9 years ago, right? So the majority, not the majority, that's a bit unfair, but very important part of the JavaScript community efforts has been on extending, enhancing the array prototype. Yeah? That's why arrays are so powerful. And that's why, as you probably noticed already, you can actually deal with some complex algorithms by transforming your data into arrays. Yeah? That's a common use case scenario when playing with the advanced training exercises. Yeah? This set of steps, this is what we call the prototype chain. In other words, if you get the question in your interview, what is prototypal inheritance or how prototypal inheritance work? You can say something like prototypal inheritance is the mechanism used by JavaScript to determine to resolve expressions. And this mechanism is based on the prototype chain, which is what you got here. The prototype chain is a bunch of steps. We can have obviously more than 2 steps. So here we presented 2 steps, here we presented 2 steps. In a minute, I will present you a slightly more complex example. However, is there any questions so far? What happened with number? That's a good question. So you mean if you got let value equals 7, for instance? So yeah, in reality, it's the same process, guys. You see? So when talking about numbers, it's the same process. Can you do number dot to a string? Of course you can. Can you do number dot to? You see, there is a bunch of methods. There's a bunch of methods that apply to numbers. It's exactly the same mechanism. The same mechanism. So any data type, guys, strings, numbers, objects, arrays, they all have a native prototype. Okay? Any questions? Cool. So let me present you the most powerful example, the most complex one, of course. So if I create a variable called let user equals, let me move that a bit. So yeah, user equals name Peter age 21, something like that. Yeah. So let's build the prototype chain. So obviously the first thing we got, I'll try to get some extra space here because we will probably need it afterwards. But for now, what we will get is something like that. So when talking about, let me see, can I copy that? Yes, perfect. So I will probably need to format it a bit for readability purposes. Name and then age. Yes, I think it's readable enough, right? I got the user, I got the age, fantastic. And then of course we got the object prototype chain. So what do we have on the object prototype chain? To be honest, the object prototype is obviously not as popular as, for instance, the array or even the string, right? So what do we got on the object prototype? So let me create an object user name Peter. So if you do user dot, yeah, we don't have many properties here. I think there is, if you Google that, you'll find out something like has own property. You may have heard about something like this. So has own property. So this is a method, and that's beyond the scope of this session, to tell whether a given key is part of the object or is part of a different prototype. Yeah, I'm not even going to explain that, but just FYI, if you're curious, you can Google that afterwards. So there is a property called has own property, which is a method actually. So we'll look something like that. Has own property, yeah, whatever. Yeah. It's just an object prototype. Let's skip the details here because I want to talk about something else. What happened if, sorry, I went too far. Let me try to select my boxes. Will this work? It's gonna be a bit complicated. Let me try. Yeah, probably I'll do one by one. Slower but safer. Here we go, with the object prototype. And then we got our box. Here you go. All right, so that's what we got so far. And now my question is, if I do user dot name, so that will obviously return Peter. Why will that return Peter? Because JavaScript will first of all check on the first box, the box containing the data about the object, and it will say, all right, do I have the name property? Yes, name is here. So then JavaScript won't even try to check any level down. Yeah, as soon as a property or a method is resolved, JavaScript will return it. But now, look, in JavaScript, you can do something like this. You can do let user2 equals object.create user. So what are we doing here? Are we creating a copy of user? Not at all, not at all. So what we are doing here is adding a new layer in our prototype chain. We're doing something like that. The one on the left is user. The one on the right is user2. Be careful, guys, because that box is empty. That box is empty. And what that means? That means what happened if I now do user2.name. What will that return, guys? Peter, that's correct then. But now let's try to understand why. JavaScript will first of all check on the box on the right hand side. Do we have a property name on the right hand side, guys? Yes or no? No, we don't. We don't. And JavaScript won't give up yet. I say, all right, give me the next element on the prototype chain. The next element on the prototype chain of user2 is user. And here, JavaScript will say, do I have a property called name? Yes. Then return it. That's why it will work, right? So that will return Peter. What if I do user2.name equal Luis? So what user2.name will return now? Peter or Luis? Luis, that's correct. That's correct. Why? Because now, because of these chains, so what we've done, let me move things a bit. So what we've done is, so we have created a property called Luis. So if now we want to check the age, so not the age, the name of user2, once again, JavaScript will start on the right-hand side. Do we have any property called name? Yes, we got it, Luis. So then just return it, returning. So JavaScript won't even bother on going any farther to check on the prototype chain. So that will return Luis. If we want to get user2.age, that will return 21. Why 21? Do we have the age on the user2 object? No, we don't. We don't. We have the name, right? No problem at all. No problem at all. Let's check on the right-hand side. Do we have the age here? Yes, we have the age here. Then return it. Of course, we've seen how to add elements to the user2 object, but of course we can remove them. So we can remove object properties by typing delete user2.name. If we do that, essentially, we are clearing, we are eliminating that. So now, if we try to get user2.name, it's the same process. Do we have the name on the right-hand side? No, we don't. All right, so do we have the name on the next element on the prototype chain? Yes, we got it. Then return it. And that's the way the prototype chain works. So, questions? Yeah. So, guys, from my side, that's pretty much it. You can say this is not that complicated. This is not that complicated. I think personally, the visual representation of the prototype helps to understand how it works. It goes without saying that, of course, we could do now, if we wanted, we could do user3, let user3 equals object.create user2, and in this particular case we will be adding a new box at the bottom, well, not at the bottom on my screen, right? Because I don't have any space. Ignore top and bottom. The important thing here is the direction of the arrows. Yep, and that will be the user-free, and it will be the same process. So obviously the prototype chain may have as many elements as you want. So essentially we're creating a hierarchy of boxes. From my side, that's pretty much it, guys. I'm going to share that weird diagram with you on Slack. So any final thoughts about this? Yes. So what was the question then? If it's not on the prototype, right? So if it's, for instance, if I try to do user3 dot email, so what user3 dot email will return then? Undefined. That's correct. Why undefined? Let's try to understand that. Is the email property defined on user3? No. All right. Next element of the chain, user2. Is email defined on user2 level? No. No problem at all. Next element, user. Is email defined here? No. No problem at all. The last step, the last stop on the journey. We just have the object prototype. Is the email property defined on the object prototype? No, it's not here clearly, right? So because JavaScript doesn't know what to do with that property, it will simply return undefined. Cheers. Anything else, guys? I will share that. Either way, I kind of like it, the tool I'm been using. So I'll share the link with you in case you want to play it, if you want to explain something like visual with someone else. Yeah, just save it somewhere. Cool. Let's do a short break of 7 minutes, and at 10 a.m. Minji, once you are ready, just at 10 a.m. let us know, and we'll start with your workshop. Apart from that, thank you very much, guys. See you in a minute.